All right, so I was listening to the MMA Hour with Luke Thomas, and he was interviewing Dustin Diamond Poirier. And he was asking him about his win and the fight against Nate Diaz and all of this stuff, yada, yada. But what rang out like a bell to me was that when he was asked about about GSP jumping in and fighting the winner of Conor Khabib, Poirier was he was like, not happening. No way. I'm fighting for the belt next. Nobody's getting a title shot before me, which all makes sense. Dustin Poirier should be fighting. If it made any sense, he kind of should be fighting for the belt right now. He really has just been on I think all of his fights, he's on like a 5-fight win streak or something like that. And all of them are finishes. Now, he said after he beat Eddie Alvarez, he said that he wasn't going to fight anybody he said there's only one other person that he would fight. I thought that person was Tony Ferguson. I personally thought that the person he was talking about was Tony Ferguson, right? Because Dustin Poirier is now number 3. Tony Ferguson is number 2. And Tony Ferguson seems to be back at it. I mean, back with the crazy stuff. We've all seen him doing the backflips and he's feeling better. He's healing up. That's what I'll say. I'm not going to say feeling better, but he's healing up. He's healing up. We saw Tony Ferguson's leg cracked wide open, man. Just what a sad occurrence. What a sad tale for the guy. But he seemed to be back at it. When Dustin beat Eddie Alvarez, it seemed like Tony Ferguson was on the mend quite well. So I thought he was talking about Tony Ferguson, but then the information gets dropped that he's fighting Nate Diaz. And now this is where it all comes. Like, this is where Dustin can no longer say anything about anybody skipping the line. Dustin Poirier, who is number 3, is fighting Nate Diaz, who is number 11, who has not fought in the UFC in 2 years. You think that this is a money fight, and it is. It will be fruitful for Dustin Poirier to fight Nate Diaz, but he's biting from poisonous fruit. I'm just letting him know that right now. He's taking a bite of poisonous fruit because GSP is the master of getting whatever he wants. He is the master of working this system and working the game. He is. GSP went so far as to joining one of these unions to threaten the UFC, to get back in the UFC and fight for a belt. It's just crazy how it all happens. Trust me, man. If GSP says that he's looking for a fight with Conor and Khabib, I have to start believing him. GSP has done some unthinkable things. And he'll go the distance. He literally is playing chess. He's working all the moves out before you even get started. Dustin, he's saying, not happening. Not happening. But it is happening because it's happening right now. His name is not GSP, but it's happening with Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is skipping all the people in line who should be fighting you, even Tony Ferguson, to fight you. You're the guy right now. You are the guy right now. And somebody is walking in off the couch, hadn't been fighting in 2 years, and they're ranked far below you. They're coming in and they're fighting you, who is the man, because they have a name. If you don't think that could happen to you, you're crazy. If you're not watching it happen right now in your own fight, Nate Diaz is skipping the line. He's just not skipping you, but he is skipping the line. If you don't think that you'll get skipped in line, then that's crazy. Then you're crazy, and I just don't see Dustin being crazy like that. I think he knows that it's a possibility. He knows that it's a high possibility. If GSP wants to get back in the octagon and fight, and he said he wants to fight on the Toronto card, yeah, I think that he'll be getting in there and he'll be fighting. And I don't think he'll ever fight you because you're too much of you're not Dustin Poirier is not the guy you want to jump in and fight after not being in the octagon for a while. He's just not that guy. He's too good. He's not a Michael Bisping, He's not a Bisping. GSP would rather take his chances against a Tony Ferguson. If it's not going to be Conor or Khabib, GSP would take his chances against a Tony Ferguson. But he's not going to fight a Tony Ferguson. He's not going to fight a Dustin Poirier, a Nate Diaz, none of those guys, because he said it does nothing for his legacy. It does nothing for his legacy. So I don't know. For Dustin to be saying not happening, I think that because GSP said it, there is a high probability of it happening because we've seen it happen. We haven't seen it not happen, actually. I actually have not seen a big deal fighter call somebody out and not get the fight. Have we ever seen that before? Have we seen Conor call somebody out and not get the fight, except for he tried to jump in and fight somebody on short notice. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Khabib or somebody on short notice. But that was short notice. They're not going to do that with a Conor fight. Have we seen GSP call somebody out and not get the fight? Anderson Silva, have we ever seen him call somebody out and not get the fight? John Jones? Ronda Rousey? That actually doesn't happen. That's not something that happens. So for Dustin to be saying not happening, yeah, it's the only thing that's happening right now. The only thing that's happening is that people with big names are calling out whoever they want and fighting them. So to say it's not happening, it's like delusional. It's the only thing that's happening. What you're talking about as I'm the rightful person who should be fighting, that is something that's not happening. Currently, in the current UFC, that is something that's not happening. The well-deserved contender is not fighting if there's a money fight on the line. Just is what it is, you know. I'm not trying to hate on Dustin Poirier or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of shine a little bit of light on that because that comment was shocking to me that he said it. I thought that he was going to say something like, you know how the UFC is, they'll jump in, especially after he sided with Nate Diaz. He said, Nate Diaz said, I'm not fighting on that effing card. Dustin Diamond said, I'm not fighting on it either. Now, Dustin Poirier is a little bit smarter than Nate Diaz. He knew we're literally not fighting on the card. We did not sign to fight on that card. We're fighting on the card after that card. So, yeah, I'm not fighting on it either. That makes sense. But still, if you're going to be down with the revolution, it's like, just be honest and say, look, you know how the UFC is. Any money fight, they're ready to jump on it. But what the real fans want to see is me versus the winner of Conor and Khabib. Because I'm ready to get that L back from Conor, and Khabib game has nothing compared to these hands. My boxing style will outwork him. Like, he could have done a little bit of something to make sense. Like, I always like when people sell the fight based on true statements. But to try and sell the fight and try to look big and bad by saying not happening, it's the only thing that's happening. Dustin, what are you talking about? But, you know, I'm going to fall back, and I just wanted to get my piece out on that part there. I want the fighters to understand the things that are happening. The fans can see it. I hope that the fighters can see it. If you don't want to get skipped in line, be a little bit more honest and pump your name up a little bit. But, you know, Dustin Poirier, his fighting style has pumped his name up enough. I will say that, definitely. But in this UFC, you got to talk a little bit. You have to have a bit of a savvy mouthpiece to get the fights that you want. You really do. But anyways, that's my thoughts on it. You know, that comment just rang like a bell to me from Dustin Poirier. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section. Hit that like button and hit the subscribe button.